All right. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the weekend stream. Not the weekend. The weekend's over. Welcome to the Sunday stream. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Wow. Let's see real quick and make sure that's coming through okay. 0 drop frames, 15%. This seems to happen. Well, it hasn't happened in about a month. And I hope it's not happening again. Is the stream coming through all right, guys? I'm getting like a halfway. Like usually I get all greens. It looks like it might be a little bit shaky. No drop frames yet though. Let me know if quality wise you can see it. You can see the numbers, the letters, everything else. And then I'll kick it off. Just on YouTube I'm getting an orange reading. I almost never have that. It's usually almost perfect. What's up, Substranger? Quality-wise, everyone, are we looking good? Are we looking like normal? Or is it looking not so good? I want to know before I get into this. Alright, I'm not hearing anything, so it must be alright. We'll just jump in then. What's going on, everyone? Seems all right. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know why YouTube's giving me like a weird... I've never seen this. All right, but looks like it's coming through good. I'll get it fixed regardless, so we don't have any problems this week. But zoom out a little bit. Obviously, want to look at Bitcoin where we left off from Friday, this $300 bounce we had, looking at kind of that first major level of support around 6K or 6,100. Kind of wrap up the Bitcoin trade as well. Talk about a new trade that I'm looking at or kind of a setup that I'm already starting to plan out. I'm not sure if we're going to get it, but it's where I'm looking. Past that, I want to look at all of the, get everyone kind of on the same page with my alt plays in terms of what coins I'm still shorting, why I still believe shorts are where I want to be, and really why I'm not eager at all to be touching any longs. Especially kind of looking with how ETH and everything's kind of shaping up, even in that bounce we just had over the past 24, 48 hours. So we'll talk about that, get everyone back on the same page. I had a piece of feedback that was really good, direct message. And guys, if you ever have a piece of feedback or anything like that, don't ever apologize for it. It's what helps me. You know, oftentimes I get really nice feedback. It's totally okay if you have not so nice feedback because it helps me kind of improve things. One of those things was it might have been a little bit harder to track all my BitMEX plays as I've kind of been scattering them, whether it's on Bitcoin trend analysis or Bitcoin or alt trade updates. So I'm going to get everyone back on the same page in that one thread, but we'll also talk about them on the stream as well. I know it's probably easy if you catch the stream, but I know some people can't catch the stream, so I need to be cognizant of that. Past that, any major ideas? One idea I want to talk about is this notion or almost unanimous opinion now on Twitter. It seems that all tokens are going to go to zero, that all ICOs are dead, and a few other pretty negative views on tokens, which I partially agree with some of it, and I agree with the logic, but at the same time, I don't know. I think we've been through a few of these cycles, and I do eventually think that the music will stop. I don't think it means that all tokens and all alts go to zero. So I want to talk about that a little bit at the end, and obviously everyone can chime in there. Let's start with Bitcoin. What's up, SK, CB, Sugar Spa, Jace? Who's it morning for and who's it afternoon for? If you could just type in, that'd be cool to see as I start doing this analysis. Anyways, let's get going. All right, so where we wrapped up, and where I kind of wrapped up and signed off from the charts to enjoy my Saturday and Sunday, was Bitcoin had just bounced and we were able to kind of clear, we were kind of hanging out in this area, right? Mid-range, 6,600 had been rejected. Oh, nice, you guys are all afternoon. 6,600 had been rejected, and we were kind of hanging out in this range. The bot started triggering, going short. Macro-wise, I've been through this a few times. Clearly, we're in a downtrend. And then once finally the micro made sense, just meaning, right, we have our bounce. You know, you start to see a couple of people getting bullish. So I start looking at what's going on with highs here, highs and lows. Right, just trying to get a sense of what is happening with the trend. Once we had marked kind of that first lower high, I just expected the next lower low to form, right? So anything I was looking for a fill at 64.50, that's the short that I got. And then once the bot told me to get out, and this is kind of the last update I gave on Friday night, looking to close that short around 6K, right? I think it was more around 6,085 for me, which I'm happy with, right? Right after I kind of signed off, and now I'm just seeing this on Saturday, is we did have a pretty ridiculous bounce kind of after that daily close. It was almost $250 or $300 in like 5 or 6 minutes. So liquidity has still been thin now, even it is right now. Flood just had a post on Twitter, and a couple other guys have posted. If you look at really small time frames, how ridiculous some of these moves have been on really small time frames. If you go to market buy on BitMEX right now, spreads are pretty big. There's just not, it's thin liquidity in kind of this range, and it looks like most of the liquidity is either happening, and you know, I don't have a depth chart in front of me, but that's kind of why I also want to wait for kind of the larger time frame stuff. So if I'm mapping out kind of my week levels, or not week as in W-E-A-K, W-E-E-K, the levels for the week, I'm most interested in kind of this major 6,600 resistance. I want to see that continue to hold. Obviously, I don't want to see it happen, but that's where I'm looking. I still think 66 and 6,800 are kind of the clear levels for me that we would need to cross to be bullish in any sense. Until that, I'm just kind of going to be bearish and be biased towards us going lower. The first levels that I would even be comfortable swinging along or wanting to swing along, and I probably still won't, would be the 6K or 6,100 that we just respected, right? And that's just the February low, and it's also right now the current swing low of this entire down move, or this entire down move since June, right, or since July. So that's kind of my outlook. If you're looking at smaller time frames, I know there's a couple smaller time frame BitMEX guys in here, some guys that trade on the 15 and 5 and stuff. I don't want to jump ahead and say that the BART is back, but we are starting to trade in some really tight ranges. So inside of kind of the more major range, I'm going to define that kind of major resistance as here, and kind of that major support as right there, right? Those two yellow kind of lines keeping us in. And then we've been kind of hanging out in two smaller ranges. One is going to be defined as pretty much 63.50. This is the lower range. I had these drawn a little bit sloppy. So this one's going to be about 62.50 to 63.50, right? And this is where price has pretty much been consolidating. Add some more along it. I'll check that out in 1 second. And then this top range is going to be 65.50 to 64.50. Right. At first, this top range was kind of the only one that I had noticed and I had kind of clued into. Right, that's what initiated the short going into the weekend, right? Kind of the end of the weekend. I wanted to be filled at 64.50 or higher, right? And that was just because this range in here, I knew if price could come up and just kind of ping this level again, or this little range in here, that's where I wanted to be filled for my short, right? Now we have two of these ranges forming, right? So we have the 64.50 to 65.50, and clearly this is acting as resistance each time we've wicked up, even since this nice bounce, resistance. Now this lower range, right, is kind of the support. So this is, you bounce down here. Now after you've moved up to 64, 65.50, bounce back down, and price kind of hangs out in here, right? We do have some pretty ridiculous wicks, but price is mostly hanging out in this range. So if you are kind of trading smaller time frames, if you are more of a scalper, more looking for those type of plays, I would be looking for buying way closer to like 62.50 or really below 62.80, looking to offload above 64.50 or go short 64.50. For me right now, I want to be pretty patient until kind of going into this new week. I want to see kind of what range or what levels Bitcoin wants to establish. All right, so I am being a little bit more conservative now. I liked the Bitcoin trade at the end of the week. I do want to catch another 1 or 2 nice Bitcoin trades, but I want to be a little bit picky as the week starts. Hopefully we can get something in like the 65.50 or 66 as a nice short, or as a long, I'd be wanting to wait until at least 6K or 6,100. Right? I'm not going to play these inter-range levels for now. If something changes, I'll obviously let you know. But those are kind of some important levels that I'd be watching. Some stranger said added some more long at 63.30, got stopped at 6,200 and what I added. Yeah, this range has been wicked. I imagine you're talking about this one. This isn't really a pattern that shows up too much in crypto, especially because BitMEX uses perpetual swaps. Not to get too technical, but with most FX pairs, you will see things like this on the chart at 5 p.m. Eastern every single day. It's because they have rollover, so liquidity is pulled from all the books, and if you're long or short, that's when you get tacked kind of the rollover fee. So a lot of banks or other liquidity providers will pull their liquidity, and you always see spreads widen and stops on both sides get taken out. Right? Asks will rise and bids will kind of fall off a cliff, and that's what happens. You don't often see it in crypto. I don't really know what caused that. I don't understand if that was a massive order. I don't understand if someone pulled on liquidity. I don't really get what went on there, but it still seems to be pretty thin liquidity for right now. So I'm waiting. Like I said, I'm hesitant. I want something 61.66K or at least 64.50, 66. Right. So smaller ranges for now, obviously going to remain kind of bearish biased until we're above 66.68. Related to Euro dumping, yeah, who knows? I mean, it could be fear. It could definitely be playing into it. To me, though, it's really kind of people just pulling quotes. It doesn't seem like anyone even has their bots on. But anyways, that's enough of Bitcoin. Let's get into more of the fun stuff. Where kind of a lot of the action's happening. So on Saturday, the one chart that I was updating was ETH breaking this channel. Right, we've covered this a million times, and the important thing, I saw a couple. I get tagged in almost every post now on Twitter when someone uses this channel. I don't think I was the first to use it or anything like that. I might have been the loudest. And I'm okay with getting tagged every time someone uses it. The most interesting point, and it's the same thing with the Bitcoin trend channel that I used last year, is once it breaks, I always see a couple comments that say, "Oh man, this should have never broken. That channel is, that channel didn't work, or this is trash analysis, stuff like that." Guys, a trend line, the exact same way a support and a resistance line on the chart is defining a level, it never defines that trend or that level is always going to hold. The other part that I think is pretty interesting is even as this thing breaks, the same way that when the Bitcoin trend channel broke, it's actually, to me, still very helpful, right? At least how I would base it or how I would kind of use it as a decision tree, right? So the basis of the entire channel was a very nice visual guide of whether ETH and all alts were expensive or cheap. Right, you could tell based on where it was in the channel whether things were getting expensive, whether things were getting very cheap down here. Even until about a week or 2 weeks ago, right, this led to a nice little bounce trade on ETH and also a nice little bounce trade on Wanchain. Now that it's broken, though, and I covered this on Saturday, now that it's broken and that the April lows got swept or taken out, to me that was just a clear sign that that channel's broken, that alt trend is probably done for now, and that it's broken. It's although they're cheap, the momentum is down so much that I want to stay short. Right, so now that this trend is broken, I definitely don't want to be approaching any alt longs. If anything, I do want to continue holding my shorts. Right, my biggest shorts are Ripple and EOS, but I also have a small short on ADA and Tron as well now. ADA is I actually might fade that off. I'm still just a little bit scared shorting ADA because they're getting added to Coinbase. Right, but I'll cover all those right after this. But anyways, if we are now looking at ETH, and even though the channel is broken, and I still think it's helpful because now that it's broken, it lets me know that I should hold on to my shorts. If I want to kind of look at levels of where I do maybe want to taper off my short positions for ETH, I'm just going to pick major horizontal levels that previously were support or resistance. Right, so just eyeballing a few here, obviously tighten these up when I post. But I think the most major one is obviously the lowest point for pretty much every alt ever is December 5th, December 7th. Obviously, I don't want ETH that low, but that's a huge kind of anchor point. And that's all the way down at 0.025, right? Another 50% drop. If I'm looking at two levels kind of before that, much more conservative, I'm looking at 0.047, and then I'm also looking at about 0.038. So, still using ETH as a very good gauge for how the rest of the alt market's going to do. If I'm looking at any relief for alts, either they stop dropping or they bounce, I'm going to be looking for it to kind of time up or line up with one of these bottoms. Right? The same way that when I used this channel bottom, it wasn't just for ETH, it was also to help me time maybe a swing into WAN or a swing into BNB, right? And then we had to exit both those above or at break even, but that's fine. So I wonder how BNB did after we exited. Break even. What do you know? Broke support. So to me, this continues to still be a really good guide. I think it's interesting that people kind of think it's not. When it broke, that was kind of the clearest sign you could have that maybe you do want to cut alt exposure, or at least be out of alts or not looking to buy more alts. For me, I'm obviously more active. That was a clear sign to either add to shorts or definitely hold on to my shorts. All right, so I'm probably going to keep holding on to at least Ripple and XRP, obviously looking at those charts as well, but I want to see when it lines up with this. All right, so I'm going to have a nice alert there. Can't type. That's what I'm thinking for ETH, guys. Past that, and we already have seen now a ton of alts or a ton of ICO projects start to kind of liquidate their ETH holdings as they start to realize they need to save some runway, right? So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how that unfolds. We'll see. With EOS and Ripple, right, the two shorts that I'm kind of largest in, EOS, I probably brought this up a million times in the channel, and I really still think it. This one continues to be probably the most expensive from a technical perspective. The reason I'm saying that is if you look at XRP, if you look at ETH, if you look at Litecoin, if you look at Bcash, every single alt on BitMEX, EOS is the only one that's still above its April low, and it's also still above this March 18th low. Right? So for me, technically, that's the most expensive. And that's kind of why that's my largest short and continues to be. Areas I'm going to be looking to fade this are going to be around 0.06. Can't even kind of view that today. 68,000 sats. And then also the March low is really the target, 52,000 sats. Right? I'm not really sure about adding onto this short right now or adding onto any short right now. I kind of want to wait for a little bit of a bigger bounce. Same exact thing for Ripple. I don't expect too much relief from this either. Right? Pretty much hitting target 1. This is from a previous stream, or target 2. So Ripple as well, getting kind of closer to levels that I'd be looking to taper off the short, but I want to hold on to the shorts. I don't see any that I really want to add to a short right now, except for maybe ADA or maybe ETH. But ADA is also a little bit scary in the sense that here's our inverted head and shoulders, not working or failing at the neckline. And now this one is also pretty close to March 18th low. If it breaks this level, then I'd be looking for something much lower, like 60% lower, December 5th, December 7th. That's pretty much the thing with all these majors now, is that if they're above that 318 level, their March 18th level, the next low for almost all of them is going to be December 5th, December 7th, and that would still be another massive short. So for right now, I'm holding. I'm not adding to any of my shorts. If they do break March 18th levels or break another 10-15%, then I will probably add, and I'm going to be targeting December 5th, December 7th. So I don't think it's any situation where if you're not short already, and if you're looking for a short, you have to panic and sell everything right now, because I don't think the entries are too good. If they do break another major support, then it kind of triggers that next decision on the decision tree for me. Yes, I want to be short, and I want to continue being short till December 5th, December 7th. That's kind of how I'm viewing it, right? In terms of any other alts that we were looking at buying, want to just kind of review the last swing longs of WAN and BNB, right? Able to squeak out a nice 8 or 10% win on this. Kind of talked about why I just thought this wasn't going to work out if macro-wise is going to win, right? Macro-wise, ETH and everything else is going to keep dragging alts down. Got a nice chance at the bottom when ETH was at the channel, and as the channel breaks, I realized that I want to take the 8 or 10% and run. So I imagine we talked about this a few times. You definitely had a chance to get out at a 10, 20%, or even at break even. This one's now down about 15% if you didn't get out. Right? BNB, exact same thing. And I imagine this one's now down 5 or 6%, so not so much. I just don't expect any micro setup, regardless of how safe or regardless how good it is, to be able to withstand or kind of do something different than what the macro is telling. right? Macro-wise is going to win with alts. All alts move together, and whether that's right or wrong, that's just the current market structure. So that's all I got. I'm continuing to have kind of a bearish bias for any alts. I don't want to add to them, but I do want to let them run. I'll talk about when I do want to add to them if they can kind of get past a certain level, or if they do give us a chance to rise back up. Right? If Bitcoin is able to crack 66, 6,800, I think tons of alts will kind of get some relief. And I know that's probably not a very widely shared opinion. I think most people think that alts are going to go now in a straight line to zero. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if Bitcoin does crack 68, 6,800, 66, 6,800, or you know, something with this ETF actually positive happens, I think really quick sentiment will change, narrative will change, and I think tons of alts are going to start getting looks again. Right, so I'm not writing off alts. I'm certainly not writing off that whole sector of the space. You know, Bitcoin dominance is really high. I've seen this happen a lot of times, and you know, I think a lot of coins won't survive. I also think that a lot of coins will still have nice runs. So that's my view. Remaining net short, not looking to add, being very patient with the Bitcoin setup, either 6K or 66, and I want to have another really successful week. What do you guys want to talk about as well? I imagine there's some coins or some setups that you guys are looking at. Happy to go over them. All right. If you guys don't have anything, alts are dead. Yeah, that kind of continues to be the view that it looks like everyone's kind of piling on. But you know, I've just kind of seen that happen a lot. I think people need to separate that. Yes, I think tons of useless tokens, aka you know, coins that are, or tokens that are made for wallets, a concept I still don't really get, and tons of other tokens like Internet of Things. A lot of those Internet of Things coins I think will get crushed. A lot of, like, to me, sectors that I kind of always want to stay away from anyways, and obviously they have the most potential, but like sectors where I think are so far off, I think a lot of those tokens are going to go to zero. So anything that's about like artificial intelligence, or I think tons of payment tokens are going to go to zero. I think, you know, so many different sectors that are just really far off. You know, right now we're kind of stuck in using crypto as a means of store of value, as a means of payment, as exchanges. Anything that's really focused around what's happening right now or has utility right now, I think has a chance. Anything past that, I think people are probably going to realize discounted future utility is not going to hold value too long, especially when people are skeptic. CB said, I have a bag of ADA with a short hedge. When would you add more or take profits? Let's take a look. Probably pretty close to what you just showed. Short hedge's only about 20% of bag right now. So if I was looking to take profits on a short, or kind of when I will, this March 18th low I think is going to be pretty interesting. So that's like another 4% lower. That price is like 1695, so like 1700 sats, I think is like kind of the next major support, or next interesting support for me. I'm not sure if you're talking about taking profits on the long or taking profits on the short. But that's like the next major support for me. Like I said, past that, if we do break that, it doesn't look good for ADA, and I'd be targeting like a much lower level, like December 5th, December 7th low, which is like in the 700 sat area. It's like almost like 50% lower. Right now, too, and obviously you don't have to do this, and this is simply my view or how I'd be playing it. If I did have like an alt bag, right, really my only big alt bag I would say is Tomo, and then obviously I still have the position Aura. Those are two kind of coins I said I would hold on to, and I still am. The only areas that see how I'd play it is, since there is such kind of a bearish sentiment on ETH and alts and everything, right, and it continues to look like they'll go lower, I would be, I kind of want to hold on to my hedge really no matter what, because it's right now, if you're long, it's a lot more about managing and controlling that risk. I think there's a better chance that things keep going lower. So if anything, like you just said, would wanting to add to the short. If I was looking to add to the short, I would either wait until we break this 1700 sat area, or I'd be looking to add again when we kind of test at least 1880 or something like that. Right now we're kind of just mid-range. If I'm looking at like a really small range right here, CB, it's like this is support, that's resistance. I kind of still want to stick by those rules, even if it's not as big of a hedge as you like. I still kind of want to be playing patiently. But for me, if I had a long position, I'd want to hold on to my hedge pretty much as long as I could, even until kind of I got confirmed a breakout, and even if I exit the hedge not at a profit, right? It's all kind of about protecting and managing risk now, especially if you're long alts. What's up, Glory? But that's all I got, guys. I'm going to get back into the group. A couple things I want to clean up. I want to update the video library, make sure that's all up to date. Keep track of what's happening here with Bitcoin, see what everyone else is thinking, and then prepare for this week and for markets to open tonight and tomorrow morning. Should be a good week. I want to make the most of it. So I'm signing off. Have a good Monday. Have a good Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. If it's still the weekend, you West Coast guys, you're lucky. And I will see all of you guys on time tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. stream. We'll kick it off right. See you guys then.